and it is the system of nasiha, which starts with a private conversation. And this is often all you need to do, is take someone aside and have a conversation with them about, calling them to their own values, reminding them of who they are. Now, in the case of this not working and the injustice that they're committing is harming others, and they don't relent with this kind of private conversation, then you actually have to try to prevent them from that injustice, and that's the best thing you can do for them. Now, that prevention can take on a lot of different, a lot of different forms. The idea is preventing injustice and preventing someone from injustice is the most compassionate thing you can do for them. So when a Muslim in power is committing injustice, this is really the way these are the steps to take. And it's always a difficult situation, because you want to balance, you always want to prevent the injustice without causing greater harm. So it's not sort of an easy answer, but in terms of just the principles, that's how you approach this kind of a situation.
And just to add quickly for the revenge portion of the question, revenge is about the nafs. It's basically about the satisfaction of my soul for what I think would restore justice, or what I think would restore some sense of order. And the nafs is a very, subhanAllah, it's a very deceptive, entity, if you will. Because where I try to go and try to restore order and seek pleasure, it's never satisfied. So revenge, actually, which is what our nation did after the attacks of September the 11th, we sought to exact revenge. And we were completely blinded by any attempts at fairness or justice, and we were massively disproportionate at the national level. So you can only imagine at the individual level if somebody goes after that. So that's why the Quran emphasizes so much that it is better for you if you forgive. It is better for you if you forgive. Why? Because forgiveness is bringing the soul into the state that, the Quran mentions nafs al-mutma'inna, the itminan that comes in Urdu. The word itminan is used for like a tranquil soul. To bring the soul under that level, there is a massive reward for being able to do that. And revenge, actually, the absence of revenge, the presence of revenge, avoids you from doing that. But to be able to bring the nafs under control, what Imam al-Ghazali says, that's the state of nafs al-mutma'inna. Is that literally, and in Surah Fajr, by the way, those of you who recall the verse, that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربه راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي. Imagine the reward of bringing the nafs under control. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, I'm personally inviting you to my Jannah. Wouldn't that be the best of reasons why to forego revenge? To forego, it's just too much, subhanAllah. So we'll continue with that.
I just want to add one quick thing, and this is just to clarify one quick thing, is in the case of something like abuse and people telling, a victim to not seek revenge, i.e. not hold the perpetrator accountable. This is a huge confusion. Holding someone accountable for a crime they committed is not revenge at all. It's keeping society safe from their actions, and in the end, really helping even the aggressor to face judgment and punishment in this life, hopefully to help them atone and not have to face it in the next life. So revenge is about the nafs, yes, and it's about doing things just to make your make yourself feel better that you've exacted revenge on someone. But that is different from holding someone accountable. And the other thing I'll just point out is you can forgive someone and hold them accountable. The two are not in contradiction. Forgiveness is about putting a burden down in your heart, extracting a poison out of your heart. It's about you. That's forgiveness. That is not in contradiction with still holding them accountable if they committed a crime, because that is your way to keep society safe.
To follow up with that, again, this question is directed to both of you. Is there a way to positively achieve identity in politics without falling into tribalism?
So I have this whole talk about it, which I will not be giving at this ICNA, but I'll give you like the very summarized version, which is there's a difference between a ummah and a usba. So a usba is what the brothers of Yusuf said they were. They described themselves as a usba. A usba comes from the same root as asabiyya or isaba. So asabiyya means tribalism. Isaba means like a gang. It means a group of people who are tied together because they are helping each other, achieve some kind of a goal. That connection is not based on principle. So I love visual examples, and if I had like a whiteboard, I'd draw it. The visual illustration of a usba is hands clasped together in a circle, which we always see. It's like, oh, unity, it's so cute. It's all these hands clasped together. That's actually usba. It's usness. It's right because we're doing it. We're together, we're a group, we're against the out group. That's how genocides happen, is by this usba. It's us against them, no matter what. An ummah, which is what we are, has the core identity of we are servants of the most merciful. That visual example is hands all clasped on the same rope of Allah. Now, what's the difference? They're both united in some way. But the second example of an ummah, they are united around a set of principles, not just the idea of we're together no matter what. And when you unite around a set of principles, you achieve unity without falling into tribalism.
This next question is, how do we go about liberalism and Western modernism today without having people feel like they're being attacked? And what should our stance on this as people be as we're trying to help the youth?
Yes, please. I always start. Go on.
So, I mean, a lot of this, I think, comes from us not knowing our own systems, us not knowing basically or being familiar with and appreciating. And some of it has to be done, and here, I refer to the Yaqeen Institute. The reason it was founded was because we had sensed and started seeing, just about a little over 10 years ago, like a massive amount of doubt in terms of who we were as Western Muslims, what exactly did we stand for, what did our religion say, and what is it that these people were saying about us. So we set out essentially with the mission to dismantle the doubt, to nurture conviction, yaqeen, and then to inspire, and then help people to inspire contribution. So for the young people, I think I can't imagine what it's like actually these days to be young and to be bombarded with this much hate, systematic, efforts to basically cause doubt and to portray Western ideals or the Western sort of, even the post-colonial or post-colonial thought as the way forward. I can't imagine that because we've been so like sort of lax in trying to get this done, and for the right reasons. We were trying to focus on the basics of the religion. But I think you can do both. That you can actually teach the religion itself while also infusing in the basic principles that essentially help us to establish a working society. We have examples of that. It's not that we're bereft of that. We have examples of it, but unfortunately, it predates modern society. So you literally need to go back to, like late 16, 17, 1800s, and then you look and you say, okay, well, colonization came in, and then there's this gap of like 150 years or so, and then we're looked upon as this underdeveloped or undeveloped world. So I think it's going to take a bit of effort from us, and each of us has the responsibility to do that. So not only, we don't want to create just pride in who we are, but actual awareness of who we are, appreciation for who we are and what principles we stand for, and then allow that to be the worldview through which our young children and others analyze and essentially observe Western society and analyze it and see what we can contribute, inshallah.
I would, I really love that Dr. Altaf referred to Surah Al-Ma'idah. So Surah Al-Ma'idah is the surah in terms of in its full form, the last surah to be revealed. There were other verses that came, but in terms of a full surah, my understanding is the last surah to be revealed. And so it was coming at a time where Muslims were poised to rule the world. And it was now telling them, not from a perspective of, the Meccan surahs where you're weak and you're having to, protect your heart, protect your religion, and you're persecuted, but now you're the one with the power, and so there's this emphasis on justice. And one of the ayahs in the ayahs in Surah Al-Ma'idah is this idea about cooperation, right? وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Cooperate on what is righteous and well accepted, and do not cooperate on what is sinful and wrong. This is a very good sort of principle in terms of who we work with and how we work with them, this ayah. Because if you are cooperating on what is good and just, work with people. It doesn't stipulate that the people you're cooperating with are believers. But if you're being asked or required to cooperate for sin and what is wrong, then you don't. It's like right there. And so when it comes to, some of these other liberal ideologies, or we, the way that society is set up, we have the liberals, we have conservatives, we have the right and the left. It's not like one is better, more Islamic than the other. Honestly, it's not. They're kind of, they are different, but they are both equally problematic, right? So when you're being required to cooperate on what is against your principles, that's where you draw the line. If you are cooperating on something that is good and just, then work with everyone.
Jazakallah khair for that answer. To jump off of that, is there a way that we can protect our values when adhering to these modern ways?
That's the question.
Yeah, please. What?
Adhere to the modern ways. So I don't know what adherence they have in mind, and so that's why we're hesitating. So if you repeat the question, this is basically, is there a way to adhere to?
Is there a way to protect our values while adhering to liberalism? And
right. So adherence is problematic. I think that's why, because adherence is talking about trying to essentially stick to, be with, and if nothing else, what Gaza, the Barakah of Gaza has shown us, is that they will abandon literally everything they believe in to stand with whatever ideology they have. So if we are swayed by that, we could actually then end up on a slippery slide because no matter what it is we think should be happening, whatever it is politically practical for them to do, that's what they will do. But what we can say is adherence to our values while, I guess, making or forming alliances on specific issues with guided by our values. And many of the scholars, and we have to be, I want us to be able to be vulnerable and open with each other. Like this has been a new space, to be very clear, in the last 15, 20 years. And many of our, best and beloved have put themselves out there. And unfortunately, there have been, times when not because of what they wanted to do, they happened to end up in situations or places or circumstances where something was being done in the name of these sort of Western ideals or whatever it is they're talking about. But now we become much more careful. And so the Dalia and I were on another group where with a lot of the national leadership, and we are tough on each other. We're very tough on each other. Where we sense or feel there was compromise inadvertently. It could have been like, did you know you ended up at this gathering? Did you know you went to speak there? How did you accept that? They're like, no, the person who invited me was this person who I trust. And so I didn't know that I would end up on a panel, with so and so, or I didn't know that when I got there they would be doing some, water libation exercise, and then I would be like stuck because like I was just standing there. I thought I would have a chance to make wudu, but that's not what they were doing with that water. So we are now much more careful. We are not, immune to this, to falling into these things. So sometimes when you're on stage, like, people assume that we have the answers. We actually don't have all the answers. We have experiences that we've learned from, and now, alhamdulillah, we're doing much better. We have a close knit group, so that if someone does get invited to these sort of Western, to be in these Western, driven gatherings or whatever it is, we can touch base and say, hey, does anyone know this? Does anyone know this person or this group or whatever? And inshallah, it will reduce not only confusion, but it will increase our ability to adhere. And we decline invitations also regularly. What you don't see is how many times we say we can't go, we cannot join, because it frankly would be, against, oh subhanAllah, we raise more money for lights. I was wondering, was it dark? Was it me? I felt like it was dark. Like, there it goes. Oh, are you leaning against the switch with it? Yeah, the dimmer. That might be it. Okay, thank you so much.
Jazakallah. This next question is directed to both of you in the sense of family. So how do we encourage these Islamic policies on our kids in an age where they tend to stray away from traditional Islamic ways?
It's a big question, man. I feel like I have both my kids here, so I have to be really careful.
My kid is
all the secret strategies are going to be revealed. I have a couple things I would recommend. You have to understand what human needs are. Basic human needs. We have a basic human need for belonging. If we don't find that sense of belonging in the home and in the masjid or in some, healthy way, we will find that human need. We will meet that human need in an unhealthy way. So you cannot expect your child or anyone to live a life of isolation. So that's one, is we need to feel like we belong. We need to feel safe emotionally. And we'll accept even toxic acceptance over loneliness. So how do we help our children feel like they're emotionally safe with us? So in Surah Yusuf alayhi salam felt emotionally safe with his father Yaqub, which is why he told him his dream. He could have, a lot of us could be, have parents or our parents where our child would never tell us their dream. They would never tell us a dream that unsettled their hearts, or they would keep it to themselves, and it would become this this wound inside them that they couldn't share. And this is extremely common where we aren't safe places to tell dreams to, or anything, or any issue that they're dealing with. So how do we create environments of acceptance that are healthy? And it may not be you, it could be another trusted adult in their life, but they need to have a safe adult to be able to talk to about things when they go wrong. Because we are wired for human connection. So if they don't have a healthy way to connect, they will meet that need in a toxic way. So that's one thing I would is understand what are basic human needs and figure out how to meet those needs in a healthy way for your family. The second thing is, really, this is just, it sounds like a cliche, but lead by example. If you have to be a good example for the things that you're talking about in your family. Simple things, salah. Pray in front of your kids, even when they're too little to have to pray or whatever. Make salah a part of your, a basic part of your life. Leading by example is extremely important. Things like, how do you treat your neighbors? Are you cooking for your sick friend? Are you calling your mom? All of these things are really important because our children will do as we do, not as we say. And this is just a basic, aspect of human psychology. And then finally, I think the way that we talk about Islam and educate about Islam has to also be cognizant of the developmental needs of children. It has always been the case throughout our history that the first place we start is by helping children understand and connect with Allah. Before any of the rules, before anything else, it's about, I want to surrender to my Lord because I know him and I love him. And he is awe-inspiring, and he created all this wonder in the world. So start with start with where we all have to start, which is with Allah, versus the minutia rules.
And again, as Dalia was mentioning, she has her sons here, my son is in the back. So clearly it's like a work in progress. We're on at a time actually when in the history of Islam in America, if we would have focused on building Islamic schools first and then prayed in them, I think we could have had a different trajectory, but it's not impossible to undo. So my wife and I early on decided that we would homeschool to be able to sort of create this system of our own and protect and whatever. But it's not possible to completely shelter and shield our children, from outside forces and so forth. So you do your best. But if it can be a collective, so even if children, the majority of Muslim children are in public schools. So even if you have a network of parents from that school, just to be aware what is being taught, what next celebration is coming up, what next field trip is coming up, what next homework assignment or take home, that you can coordinate an exercise and say, you know what, actually let's just stand up. Let's just email the teacher, let's email the principal, let's email the administration and say, by the way, you have a set of parents, including, by the way, alliances. The homeschool convention, the conference that happens in Richmond, is heavily not Muslim. It's heavily Christian conservative and Jewish conservative families. We're all saying the same thing. We're like, this stuff, this new, Western sort of liberal ideals is killing us. And they're like, we got to do something to sort of shielding our children. But it's not an answer to everything. Not every family can do homeschool. Not every family can manage, to sort of shelter their kids and keep them. And if you are both homeschooling or public schools, is to prepare them for the real world, to have frank conversations, to be able to say, yeah, this is what you're going to see. Sometimes even within families, within Muslim families, why does so and so, part of our family do this? Well, this is what it is. Allah told us this. People are choosing to do this. We don't judge them at this time. We just live and we try to show by example and keep improving. So similar to what Ustaz Dalia mentioned, leading by example, I think is where it starts. And it's not easy, but again, the lots of dua and a lot of continued persistence. We cannot give up. Like we cannot possibly give up because as we're discussing this, there's another whole generation of other children coming for whom it's going to be even harder. Because by that time, everything would have just become like, there's nothing left in America that's sacred anymore. So it's just all going to be okay. Then what are we going to do? Well, we have our religion. We have allies who are conservative and also might be able to work with us on specific issues, right? And then hopefully we can persist, inshallah, in trying to please Allah and help our children come along with us in that journey, inshallah.
And I mean, I should have started with this, but make lots and lots of dua for your children. That's really, really important. And never stop. Never stop.
Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Dalia, Mogahed, and Dr. Al Hussein. That concludes the Q&A session. Now, before you all start running towards the doors, a couple reminders. Maghrib prayer is at 8:30, and our next main session is going to be in the ballroom at 9:15.